Kia ora everyone, and welcome to this introductory presentation on the SWOT analysis, the analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats as an organisational strategic business tool. I'm Sam Young, and in this presentation I'm going to walk you through the core elements of the SWOT model using a visual which I've developed. Then I'm going to take you through some history of the tool, then we'll finish with the process, how a SWOT analysis should be used. So first, a SWOT analysis. This is an acronym standing for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Internal to the organisation is the first element, that of strengths. This can be thought of also as competitive advantage. The second element is that of weaknesses. These are the organisation's limitations, barriers or lack of skill. The third element is outside the organisation's control. This is opportunities. These are things which the organisation could take advantage of if they've taken the time to look for it. The fourth and last element is also outside the organisation's control, that of threats. Threats are things that the organisation needs to be watchful of. Things that may damage their ability to survive. If we think about the green here, this is what goes well for the organisation based on the organisation's strengths and the opportunities that are available to it. Strengths and weaknesses are internal to the organisation. Opportunities and threats are outside the organisation's control. Opportunities and threats arise in what is often called the macro environment, that of politics, economics, technology, demographics, socio-cultural issues, legal issues or environmental issues. Now we're going to have a look at history. So basically in the 1950s at Harvard and the 1960s at the Stanford Research Institute, which is called SRI International, a lot of organisations sort of came up with the same idea at the same time, and we can't quite be sure about which organisation was first. There's quite a bit of controversy still. Stanford University has more evidence to say that it's their model, but there are mentions of the SWOT model at Harvard in the 1950s, so it's very difficult to determine. Basically what started the ball rolling was that despite that there was an internal organisation's internal capacity was planned to take advantage of external possibilities, organisations' planning was not consistently paying off. So a large group of organisations asked Stanford to conduct a study starting in 1960. It was a longitudinal study which looked at why planning was unsuccessful. Over 9 years, Stanford researchers interviewed about 5,000 managers in 1,000 companies and found the difference between what an organisation planned to do and what they actually accomplished was about 35%. The problem was not the management team's quality of information, but their ability to reach committed agreement on their kind of constructive objectives rather than settling for, I guess, more feeble compromises. So after careful analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, organisations could be better determined and prioritised. Albert Humphrey was one of the key members of the SRI team and remembers the situation well. He wrote an article in 2005 about it. But what was really interesting was that SWOT was initially SOFT, that it stood for satisfactory, opportunity, fault and threat, and this was later changed to SWOT. So basically the actions could be better determined and prioritised using SWOT inside the organisation, and that then improved plan to actual. Now we're going to have a look at how we use SWOT as a tool. So SWOT analysis is used as a business tool to analyse where an organisation is currently, where it needs to go, and to get agreed goals in order to get the organisation to where it needs to go. So it's used for strategic business planning, effectively business reflection. And like all reflection, it needs to take time. There shouldn't be a fast process, but you need to bring everyone together to brainstorm through a range of business departments, project strategies, macro and micro environmental factors, using those environmental factors as a lens to view what internally is going well, what internally is not going well, what is or what may become a potential external opportunity, and what is or may become a potential external threat. We need to then identify key elements or issues. We need to consider these in relation to the organisation staff, income, security, IP, longevity, investment, branding, reputation, strategic direction, development, R&D, plant, etc., etc., etc. We then need to formulate strategies to meet those identified issues. And then, because the list is far too long and will be far too long, we need to prioritise those issues and strategies. Then our next step is to implement the strategies which the organisation can afford to implement right now. We need to bank the second tier of strategies for implementation once the first tier are underway or complete. Then lastly, we need to ensure that we monitor strategies to see what works. We need to debrief those who are involved in the organisation implementation to ensure that the organisation learns what works over time. We need to review the SWOT analysis regularly, and we need to build SWOT as a tool into the organisation's planning cycle. So, the bibliography. And that's all. Thank you very much. Kia ora.